I remember when like sex tech was a word, and every single conversation I was in, people were like, robots are gonna take over and no one's gonna have sex anymore ever, and like the human condition's gonna fall apart.
Yeah, but you can't make those robot girls thick.
You are now listening to Obsessed on PM Radio. I'm Penelope Dario. Enjoy the show.
Okay, we're starting.
Okay.
Hi, Vaughn.
We only catch up like this.
I think the tea's too hot. I'm like, we have to record it.
Yeah.
Welcome to Obsessed. I'm
Thanks
obsessed
for
with
having me.
you.
I'm obsessed with you back.
I'm so jazzed that you're here. This is our second ever podcast recording. So
exciting.
I'm super grateful for everyone's patience as we are figuring everything out. So I have some questions, but first I want to catch up about your rave this past weekend.
Oh my God.
How did it go?
I was super anxious because my nails are like covered in black because I was covered in black food dye. And I was like, I hope it doesn't look on camera that I'm like, I have like nasty nails.
You like crawled your way here.
Like, on the train day, like looking.
Listen, battle scars.
Yeah, it was great. I am a part of this party, Play Me Techno, and it's like literally so much fun. But in true like tourist type A fashion, it's like it's an event that like we all only do it because we love it. So it's like a 2 p.m. start for pre-promo and everything, and just get everything together, and then we get like I get like an hour break to take a shower, and then at 3:30 a.m. we perform. And this one was really fun. We had boxing and a bunch of stuff, and then the party goes till 10 a.m. and then we wrap at noon. So it's like a nightlife warrior situation.
Wait, so it's just like an afters kind of situation? Like people come out, like does the party start at 3 a.m.?
No, the party starts at 11.
Okay.
And so it goes the whole night, but it's fun. It's like it's consistent performance art programming throughout the night in like a techno rave atmosphere. But my shtick for each event is I get naked in a new way.
Oh.
And so it's fun. Like people think the climax is always going to be the nudity aspect, and we always kind of like flip it on its head of what the climax actually is. And it's super fun.
What was the nudity this time?
This time I did a boxing match.
Oh.
And so I got
strip boxing?
Well, we did a boxing match, then I got stripped after the boxing match. It was like kind of fun and like, ooh, didn't know if that was going to happen.
Like having your clothes ripped off.
Yeah, it was kind of like, you know.
All of this is like rehearsed, so it's not like, is it a surprise to you, or like are you
it's always a surprise. Well, we don't ever have enough time to like really rehearse it, so it's kind of one of those things where I have my girls now that we feel so comfy that it's kind of always a surprise to all of us. But it's like my favorite thing about performing, and I think it's interesting. Like I think about it a lot of like my relationship to like nudity as a performance mechanism, and how it's like it's very easy to have it feel like just like another thing in your arsenal. Like it doesn't make me feel strange, obviously, to be like naked in front of strangers. Whereas it's a question I get a lot, and I'm always like, no, it actually doesn't.
Yeah,
really
like I wasn't
me.
gonna ask that question. I'm like,
yeah. So, but it was really fun.
Yeah.
And today was like my first little sleep-in day, and now I'm back.
Oh my God, thank God.
I'm back at it. So.
Well, I really appreciate you coming through on your sleep-in day.
Yeah, of course.
What is your sleep schedule typically? Like,
it's so bad.
Like, okay, so you're not like doing the 3 a.m. things, and then like Monday through Friday you're, up 9 a.m.
But I think I have that thing. I've been told that there's a gene some people have where like you need less sleep.
Oh.
And I think I must have that. I really don't. I don't sleep much ever.
Oh, wow.
And I'm a pretty like high function. Like
how many hours?
If I get more than like 5 hours of sleep, it's like a really awesome night.
And you don't feel like skin crawly, like swamp animal-y if you like don't get enough hours?
No, I kind of just vibe.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm also I'm such a naturally up.
Yeah.
Like if I have a coffee, it's like, whoa.
Do you drink caffeine?
I do, but when I do, it's like I'll have a chai latte and people are like, did you just do like a bump?
Oh, no, fully.
So
I won't smoke weed and people think I did a bump.
No, like I can't even, I can't do that. So I think my natural makeup is very like.
Yeah, totally.
So
we talked about this a little bit in our last interview with Mag, where you're like, I'm full manic Barbie.
And I was talking about witching hours, like for a lot of people, witching hour is late at night or early in the morning. And I have the opposite. Like my witching hours are 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. where it's like during those hours of the day, I'm like, am I going to make it?
Oh my God, like you're about to fall asleep. Like
no, but like, am I going to like kill myself? Like it's like every existential thought, like everything that is like super anxiety inducing. Like I just think about it between those 2 hours. So now my new thing is like in the morning, I feel great. And after like 6 p.m., I feel really creatively excited. Between like 2 to 5, I need to give myself programming every day, or it's just like a really dark spiral.
Crazy.
But I don't know, I've been thinking more about what sustainability looks like as someone who literally doesn't sleep and works in nightlife, is pretty manic, is very type A, very Taurus energy. Like what?
Even as you're saying this, you're like,
No, literally, like that's my whole demeanor. Like what does
Totally.
sustainability look like?
but I feel like you must be very disciplined.
I think though I'm better at adrenaline than discipline. Like I've always been. Like if it's like, okay, like I have a show in 2 weeks, those 2 weeks I can not focus on anything else in my life and like pedal to the metal and it's great. Stretching like 30 minutes a day every day for my well-being is really hard.
Like never gonna happen.
That's like really difficult for me. Like I have to
I-
game it. Like it's almost like in an adrenaline junkie kind of like capacity, or my brain just doesn't work in that way. But that's my new thing. Like as I get closer, I just turned 29. And for my 30s, my friend who's really into astrology told me that my whole thing is about sustainability for the next few years and figuring out what that means to me. So
Any early insight?
I think sustainability is not you get 8 hours of sleep every night and you wake up at the same time it's a different thing for each person. So for me, it is like, okay, after every show, I take one day to like be with my loved ones and talk about it and feel really proud of, or whatever it is. Like it can be a bunch of different things, or, you know, like what is like work-life balance doesn't really exist for me. My work is my life and vice versa. So then like allowing myself to have more malleable definitions of what those things are and what they are. I don't, jury's out still, but you know, we'll see.
You ever get the sense of like, okay, like if I do become the person that wakes up at 5 a.m., stretches, drinks a warm water with lemon, and then, and then hits a Pilates class and like, and then has a quinoa bowl for breakfast and then like has like a great productive day done by 5 p.m., dinner with bae. Like you could get there and then you're like, this is the rest of my life.
No, I'd be
and then
miserable.
like it's gonna be this every day and then I die.
Yeah. No, I'd be miserable. I'd be like, I'd probably have like a way better life expectancy and I'd be totally miserable.
Yeah. I don't know. Like you just got to flow with it. Like with creative energy, like when like the muse strikes you, you have to do it. And I think I completely relate in that like I will go so hard on a project and like run myself to like the edge of life and then it's done. And then there's like no better feeling than like being able to like have a gluttonous weekend after that. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And then like slowly like get out of like postpartum of like a project finishing and then jumping on the next train.
But that is the part that I think is really special. Like I think when I think about a project life expectancy, I think of the end not as the end of the project, but as the new idea that inevitably then happens at the very end when you're like, I'm going to take a second and you don't.
Totally.
And it's like you're back in an addictive cycle. And I think that is for me at least, like even though that is exhausting, I think that's the affirmation of like, this is what I love to do. Like if I didn't immediately end this and have the desire to do it immediately again and totally like have a mind lapse of how tired I am, then like I wouldn't be able to.
I swear to God, this is like verbatim what I hear women say about like having babies. And like
because your body
pregnancy.
forgets.
Yeah, they're like birth is so horrible, but pregnancy is kind of fun, and you just like forget about the birth part.
Yeah,
and then you just. But I mean, it's
or our bodies are like supposedly meant to do that. Like otherwise, you wouldn't. I guess keep having
the population would go
children.
extinct.
I just had this in my almost being close to 30, whatever vibe. I just had like a revelation only to me. Everyone in my life is like, this has made so much sense that like I don't ever want kids.
Okay.
Like at
like
all.
Even a little bit.
Like not even a little bit. Like I have no maternal instinct.
Okay, but you are a mother.
I was born to be a mommy, not a mother.
Totally.
And I really think that is like, when I really said that to myself, I was like, oh, it all makes sense.
Yeah. Like I feel like I was born to be an aunt.
No, I like, I'm your mommy. I'm not your mother. Like, actually, I really, really feel like that has made so many things click.
This is so tea because like I feel like, I mean, I'm a Cancer and like Leo rising, Leo moon, like a lot of like mothering, like creative, whatever energy. And like, I tend to fall into the mommy role with so many people I work with, people like my friends, like, and there's been so many times where it's like, it feels so natural and it feels so fun until I'm expected to be mother and like put up with shit unconditionally and like have a level of patience that's like, oh no, sweetie, like I did not birth you.
Yeah.
Like I will be mommy and I will be sweet and I will shepherd you as far as I can. But like at the end of the day, like you gotta fucking chop your own wood and carry your own water.
Well, and I watch women on the subway all the time doing like soldier level work of like 2 strollers and 2 kids and whatever. And I watch that and I think to myself like, oh my God, that's so impressive. And I actually never want to do that. Like, I don't want my hole to rip up to my fucking ass. I have to sew it back together.
Yeah.
I literally don't want it. For me, my biggest fantasy was always like looking really cunt with a pregnant belly.
Like me, it's that. It's that and like also just like looking really cunt with like a toddler who's like dressed fly.
I got a silicone pregnant belly.
Oh, and you were like, okay, that's it.
And was like wearing it and was like, no, and now I'm good. That's actually all I needed.
I just needed the photo.
I was like, I just wanted to look like a fucking whore in a pregnant belly. And now everything's fulfilled.
Totally.
The actual baby part, I have no desire for at all.
Yeah.
Like actually at all.
That's such a, like, I feel like that's so great to have clarity because I feel like it's one of those things where I have had like weird, like an intense baby fever, like episodes starting from like 18. But at the same time, like if you had asked me as a kid, like, oh, like what's your dream when you grow up? Like, do you want kids one day? I'd be like, no. I was like, I want a husband and I want a business and I want to travel the fucking world on our private jet doing our business with my husband.
Totally.
Like, literally as a child, that was my answer. And then like I turned like, I think somewhere between like 19 and 21, I was like, it would be so cool to have 2 kids before 30 and then be done with it and just be like a super hot young mom.
Yeah.
And then I've had like little waves of it since. And like sometimes I have those moments, but it's like, I just feel like if you can't sustain that feeling long enough, you maybe shouldn't have an actual baby.
Well, I also like always had this fantasy of having children because I really deep down was like, oh, I can't wait to prove to my mom that like I can do it better. Totally. And then I was like, maybe that's not the reason. You're supposed to like bring life into the world, you know? But like, and I would also say this thing all the time where I was like, I'm only going to have kids when I'm rich enough to do it.
Totally.
And I think the more I thought about that, it's like, well, you shouldn't only want kids if the circumstances are perfect where like there's no stress.
Yeah.
I think I just actually don't want them. And I just feel very conditioned that like at some point you're supposed to have this revelation where like you want to like be a mom. And I felt so free since I've really admitted to myself, like, I really don't.
Yeah.
Like, actually at all.
That's so great. Would you ever take, like, some serious preventative measures? Like,
tube
tying?
I've been, like, the idea of, like, a hysterectomy I've thought about.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, then what am I doing with all of this?
I've thought the same thing. I can walk you through it. Trust me, I've done extensive research. I was like, I literally went to the doctor and I was like, take it out.
No, like, I'm like, why am I?
Yeah, why am I
what's
carrying
the point?
This around? No, literally.
You know,
and I remember talking to my mom about it and I was like, I don't want kids. And there's a history of uterine fibroids in my family, like really intensely, like all the women in my mom's line, like including my sister. And so like since I was a kid, I kind of felt like my uterus was a little bit of a ticking time bomb with that. Luckily, it hasn't happened. And like, who knows? Maybe like it skipped me.
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of doubtful. But I was like, I don't want kids. And like, I'm eventually probably going to have to get some form of surgery anyways, because I'll probably get fibroids.
Take that shit out.
Just take that shit out. Like leave my ovaries. I'll be fine. I'll still have my hormones, but you can still go into premature menopause if you get your uterus removed. Like, there's so many things. Like, what you can do, though, is this is something my friend did, which wouldn't work if I got fibroids. But if you don't have that medical history, you can get what's called like an ablation, which is basically like they like cauterize like the lining of your uterus so you can't shed it anymore. So
I really, there's just so many moments where I'm like, it's the same to me as like going to the dentist.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's like 2026 and you're like scraping my teeth with sticks.
Yeah.
How is this so seemingly not advanced? And I feel like that with any aspect of gynecology. I'm like, wait, what? Yeah. You have to do what?
Yeah. Cauterize your uterus.
I'm like, right.
Yeah. Totally. Tie your tubes and cauterize the uterus.
Crazy.
It's super chill.
Yeah.
NBD.
But yeah, not in my future.
But, you wouldn't get that's what it is. You wouldn't get your period anymore.
Which would be huge.
If you do the ablation. And then the tubes tying is obviously like the sterilization.
Yeah, like that would be absolutely huge for me.
Yeah. Ripley's like, please move on. Like, I'm going to vomit. Okay, enough about gynecology because, in fact, we're not doctors. Surprise, surprise. But now, hopefully, you can have some things to mull over.
Thanks.
On some lighter notes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to get your take on everything, but I would love to know, like, who you think has done it well and, like, what your favorite representations of sex work in media have been.
I'm actually going to say a book.
Okay.
Whorephobia.
Oh.
That is, I think it's relatively, it's only come out in the past few years. I joined a book club.
Oh.
With a bunch of strippers.
I love.
And our first read was Whorephobia.
So good.
And it's kind of like an anthology of essays, but all specifically from strippers.
Okay.
I think right now there is such a, buzz around anything sex work adjacent or, like anything sex worker, like narrative, whatever, character trope, which in some ways is great and in some ways is not as great. But I think it sometimes removes the reality that there is nuance. Mm-hmm. And like in any industry or job, there's so many different factors at play that dictate what your experience is. Like there is no such thing as a universal experience. And specifically that book does a really fantastic job of, it's only about stories about strippers specifically.
And it's nonfiction.
Yeah, it's all personal essays. But everyone just has a completely different experience, a completely different opinion about similar topics. Like it just does a really, really good job of like, oh, right. Everyone's like a real person with a completely different perspective and who has made completely different choices or whatever else it is. That I just think it does a really, really good job. And it was the first time that I feel like I actually interacted with any piece of media in like a pop culture sense that I was like, well, yeah, that makes sense. Totally. That this would be displayed in this way. And I just think it does a really, really good job of not trying to make a statement, of just offering a diverse range of perspectives. And I think that is something that I don't feel like I've had as much experience with as a viewer in the rise of more people being able to get projects greenlit.
Totally. Is there any fiction that you've enjoyed?
Well, this is interesting. I'm in this writers group, and a good friend of mine who recently retired, she is writing a fictional story loosely based on her experience, and we've been doing research together of trying to find other pieces of fiction to use as research or whatever else. And it's kind of hard. And I think that there is like a nuanced thing of this is a larger conversation, but like, what is the expectation about you having to out yourself or not? Mm-hmm. Also, if you've written about something, and everyone's talking about Murder Bimbo, this new book that has come. Yeah, Murder Bimbo. It's like about this sex worker who kills a bunch of people and whatever. And it's getting really good reviews, but from certain demographics of people that I think are
who
like
aren't sex workers.
Of course. But there is kind of like the jury's out of like, is this one, like, we don't know if this author is a sex worker. And also if she is, what does it mean? Like, unless you then like loudly proclaim it, is it then not valid? And we read, there was this other book, I'm going to forget the name of it, that we were talking about too, like about a high-end escort. And it's just tricky because I think that it comes down to like when there's such a limited amount of things being produced, it gets judged much more harshly, understandably, but it creates this issue where like, sure, maybe this specific story, it's like we were reading it like, this would never happen. But like, I don't know, maybe that did to you because there are millions of people who do this and like, we don't know.
Totally.
So I think it's tricky. I think that the biggest thing is like, there has been a lot of fiction about sex work, but less fiction created by and for sex workers. More like fiction created potentially by sex workers, but being received more by a mass audience. And then dictated, like its judgment is based upon those reviews.
I mean, my issue is not always that the story is like unrealistic. Cause like you said, there's so many possibilities out there. Like my critique of Honora was like, I don't want to say this girl doesn't exist. I don't think this story is meant for the public. Like, I think we're witnessing somebody in a really vulnerable place. And these aren't the stories that I think should be getting this much noise. You know, like I think that, because I think it's telling of like how like you said, how the public wants to receive sex workers. It's like, we want to give the Oscar to the actress that played this like very downtrodden, very disenfranchised person with no agency, who I'm sure, like, I have nothing to say about her acting ability because I don't think that role actually gave her the opportunity to show the breadth of her ability.
Right.
And so to be celebrating this at such a crazy level and having it be this kind of story where like you're witnessing someone be like abused,
right,
and not find any agency within themselves, like that isn't that realistic, because I do think sex workers have more agency and are smarter than that. But to celebrate this specific narrative, I think is so telling about what the public is ready for, and what the public, and the way that the public is comfortable seeing a sex worker. They're comfortable seeing a girl being taking $15K for a week in Vegas with a fucking oligarch, taking 10G payout for a fucking green card marriage. Like, these numbers aren't even realistic.
Yeah,
like
right.
these aren't the market rates for these things. And the like the public, that makes them comfortable. Do you know what I mean? Like, it 100%. Makes them so much more comfortable to see a girl like downplaying herself and undercharging and and then wanting to sleep in the mansion one more night. Like, why? Because it's a mansion and she can't go nice places. Like, I don't give a shit if I lived under a bridge. Like, I would go to my sleeping bag under the bridge and get the fuck away from these people with whatever little money I got at the end of that.
Can we talk about Euphoria?
Let's talk about it. Wait, hold on. Before you continue, just know I only saw like the first half of the season and then the final episode.
And I think that's actually really okay.
Okay, great. Great. So like,
I don't think you really need to go back.
I needed to be spared.
I mean, there's so much like discourse about it on the internet, but I think my biggest takeaway is that when the largest platformed stories are through the lens of someone's idea about what they think it must be like, it's just like inherently going to be problematic, like no matter how you slice and dice it. And so I think like I've gotten into so many conversations about Euphoria or about Honora and it's like, or about Hustlers or whatever. And sure, but I think the zoom out is like, there just needs to be more stories by people that have skin in the game. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's actually it, right?
Yeah.
Because...
Or, like, I don't think it's wrong for Sam Levinson to want to make that story, but it's like, get a few more sex workers other than Chloe Cherry.
Sure.
Like, and all respect to Chloe Cherry.
Totally.
But, like, get a few more girls in the room and, like, really talk through these scenes, really talk about the implications of presenting a character like this.
Totally.
That's all.
Totally. Or, I mean, even, like, one of the biggest scenes to me that I was like, this is, I think... damaging only for the sake of romanticizing an idea. Like when Kitty is at the club and she gets assaulted by all of the men in the room. That would a club owner would never allow one girl in a private room with 10 men because not for her safety. They're losing money.
Right.
Like you have to have one girl per guy in the room. Like why would they? So it's just like there was little things that I was like, this is for the sake of showcasing this girl as like stupid, hopeless, like.
But exactly like how they showcase Honora. Those are the exact adjectives I would use for her.
And I feel like it's not that doesn't happen, but I think it matters of why that story gets more airtime by someone who, again, it's based on their idea of what it must be like versus any other reality that so many people experience.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, I just think that that's been something fascinating I've thought about. Like, I really actually just think it is grounds for more stories just need to be greenlit by people that have skin in the game.
Yeah.
That's actually it.
Yeah.
And then we wouldn't only have 3 things to talk about.
Literally.
You know.
And like being like just infuriated over.
Yeah.
No, that's a really great answer. I feel like this is actually a perfect segue. Okay. So do you think that people right now are more open to radical ideas when they're disguised as entertainment?
Yes, but I also think it runs the risk of diluting how radical the idea is. You know what I mean? Yes. Like, I think for me, my personal take on Honora was less about the movie and more about what was happening around me. Like, I'm listening to someone say the word sex worker on Good Morning America. Like, that's crazy.
At the Oscars.
Like, I'm looking at girls from Pumps on the stage at the Oscars. Like, that is crazy. Like, there was something really special about being in the theater with all of my friends and watching everyone be like, this is cool. Like, our friends are on screen. Yeah. Like, we know that room. We know, totally. There was something very special about that. But I think at the same time, you know, the way that things get diluted for the sake of mass visibility potentially runs the risk of like, it's no longer radical. Like what could have been radical about Honora became just like, again, someone being able to say it on Good Morning America is what becomes radical about it.
Totally.
Which is not that that's not important, but I wouldn't necessarily determine that I wouldn't classify that as radical.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that that's also happened like culturally in the last 6 years, like especially since the pandemic. Like when I started in the adult industry, I was a stripper and that was still very like kind of taboo and like shadowy. And that was like 2017. And then I started escorting shortly after that because it was just a better fit for my lifestyle. And then, you know, like a year later, the pandemic happens and all of a sudden OnlyFans booms. And it was like, I had like a year of like living in like the coolest era of like, it was post Estafasta. So like, I honestly, like, I'm glad I didn't even start before post Estafasta because like, I think the money was flowing so fucking hard that like, I don't think I could have taken Estafasta and then the pandemic. So like, but I did have that year before the pandemic and like the money was so fucking good. It was actually cool that it was post Estafasta, dare I say, because there was so much organizing happening. And so I got to enter the industry with a sense of community in independent work that I don't think existed for a long time. And then, you know, there was like a few months at the beginning of the pandemic where, you know, we had the Telegram chat of like all like the escorts or whatever and things like that. But then, you know, slowly it fizzled out and like the industry has sort of started to become this shape that I don't know that I recognize fully anymore. Like it's hard to tell like who's a sex worker, like who's an escort, who's an OnlyFans girl, who's a stripper, what their level of like involvement or like exposure in the work is. And I don't know that it's a bad thing, but it definitely feels like being a sex worker has become like less edgy and like more cliche in a way.
But I think there's probably a differentiation between like, I think the word the claiming of I'm a sex worker, I think more people feel more comfortable to claim that. When I think in I don't know, various places in our community, you'd be like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean a little bit? Like I think that which is difficult because it's like I don't mean it like in any shade kind of way, but like, you know, the bikini girl on Instagram that now has an OnlyFans, I would not be like, I'm a sex worker. Like I just
Totally
wouldn't. I don't know.
Totally.
even I don't know. I just sometimes it's tricky, and I think that again there has to be room for like so much nuance, but I think that I don't know. It's tricky to find the verbiage, but like I think that with like more palatability also comes like dilution of everything.
Totally. One of the biggest shifts is like I think because I came from the world of in-person work, there's so much like philosophy that comes from and like life experience that like is born out of like the negotiation in real life and in real time with clients. I think it produces people that have a very like nuanced take on just like life itself because of their proximity to like work and to the human psyche, really, because you're just like, it's not like you're just answering horny DMs. It's like you're right there in person. Like you're in the flesh, you know. A lot of like the OnlyFans girls, like I almost feel bad for them because like I feel like they're kind of living in this silo, and I do think that the more you're online and the more you're just like creating content, like the more you're hyper fixating on your body, and like you're just living in this sort of echo chamber.
Sure.
And I think that like escorting for me was such like a liberating, and like it was so invigorating. Like it was like new experiences all the time, new people all the time. Some were better than others, but either way, it was always fresh and new and different. It would get me out of my head, and it would force me to empathize with different types of people and you know, react and respond in different ways, which I think a lot of people are missing.
You made me think about like again, and this is where it's like, it just, when there's few avenues to have these conversations in media, publicized for other people, it makes less room for the inevitable nuance that exists. But I've had lots of conversations about how like, you know, OnlyFans is safer.
Yeah.
Right? And obviously, in almost all of the ways, you would say yes, right? Like you're versus like being in physical space with someone. For me, I felt the opposite.
Yeah.
Like I really enjoyed anonymity.
Yeah.
I enjoyed like clocking into my job.
Exactly.
And leaving my job.
Totally.
And for me, OnlyFans actually was like terrifying.
Terrifying.
Because I was like, there's this random man from my high school, and then this part, like, it didn't make me feel safe
at all.
And I didn't feel like I could clock out. And so like, again, it's like there just is nuance that is not able to be discussed as clearly. And I think that then again, when the biggest pieces of media we have for other people to like think that they have insight are based on, you know, one person's nuance, one person's lacking nuance, like Cassie in Euphoria. It's like that eliminates all of the really real, like, you know how hard it is to get people to subscribe, going from being someone no one cares about. Like, it's you don't just like sign up and then have it happen. Like, it is really
Let's
hard.
talk about the lack of internal traffic on this platform.
Like, it's really hard. Like, there's just all these other things that like, I just think that, you know, of course, like one series is never going to be able to show everything. And so I just always say like, it just means that more things need to be greenlit. And I think that, you know, when we have radical ideas as artists, like it is much easier to showcase the breadth of a radical idea through, you know, character building and world building, whatever else, than it is to speak from your own, you know, siloed experience. And so I think that we will never stop trying. Yeah. But I think that under entertainment lens and the powers that be of like who has green light power and whatever else and who has distribution power, like things will have to be at some point diluted, and real radical conversation, like I think will always kind of be most potent in the conversations we actually have with each other.
It's interesting too when you're saying about like, oh, well, I wouldn't like, don't cancel me, but I wouldn't consider this person a sex worker or whatever. And it's like, yes, but also like I take this approach that's like, a lot more people than would like to admit are sex workers. Like,
totally.
I think anybody that's profiting off their sexuality, whether that's a podcaster telling salacious stories about their sexual escapades, or it's an influencer like in a micro bikini doing foot pics on her OnlyFans. Like, if you are profiting off your sexuality, if like being hot and fuckable isn't a major reason why you are putting dollars in your bank account, like, you a hoe.
Well, but I think that maybe I'll clarify, because I had this conversation with someone years ago and it like never left me. And it was with this girl who was very sweet, and she's like an Instagram LA model girly who, again, like, you're not nude on the internet, but like you're a bikini model on Instagram. And she had made a remark to me of like, I could never like go to the strip club because I couldn't bear to like watch men objectify women like that. And I just thought it was such a fascinating comment, because I was like, what do you think that you're doing? And like, besides like, you make probably less money, what do you think you're doing? And so I think maybe it's more like, I watch a lot of people now very shamelessly claim I'm a sex worker because now it has been deemed cool, but you don't ride for everyone that umbrella encompasses. And that's maybe where it's different. Like, I see this a lot in music now. Like, I see a lot of musicians that are like OnlyFans, and then it's like, you know, you're kind of scamming people on OnlyFans. Like, you're not doing anything differently, but it's like now a new, like, it's like Patreon, right? Like, and it's like, that's fab. You don't then have the right to be like, I'm a sex worker, and I get now the cultural cachet that the term has, but I'm gonna like, you do what? I would never do that. That's where it's like, then you don't get to claim that title, right? And I think at least in someone in music, and now more of my time is in music entertainment world, I just hear more of that.
More noise,
all the time. And I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. Like, the ripple effects of the conversations we're having about like, what does it mean to have in some ways more representation of stories when it hits whoever else, how that actually then solidifies. I just think it's very interesting of like where that term and that claiming has gotten more like, you know, cultural cachet. It's like, has also, I think, granted people more permission to actually have more stereotype than they even realize by claiming it. Does that make sense?
No, totally. And it's so interesting too, because I remember I had a really exciting interview that's going to be published soon with a pretty prominent creator who is she's like maybe a couple years younger than you. She's like late 20s, but she definitely came up during like the OnlyFans thing. And it didn't dawn on her that like you could be an escort and like no one would ever know you were a sex worker.
Totally.
Do you know what I mean? And like you can make a lot of money escorting, and you can get in and get out, and like no one would be the wiser. Like, even with having had my face out on ads, like now that like my ads have been down for a year, I'm like, and like, again, I benefit from a lot of different levels of privilege that would allow me to like leave escorting and like go get a job somewhere and like not think too hard about. I'm also a creative too. So it's like, I'm not going to work for the government. At all. You could potentially like be an escort and then go be a school teacher.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
100%.
But with the OnlyFans, like that paper trail is deep.
Is deep.
You know? And I think that like a lot of these girls are like, oh, it's so safe. And I'm like, stalkers are not safe.
100%.
Like the amount of people trolling escort sites are not the same as the amount of people trolling Instagram and OnlyFans. You know? And so it's like people go in with a mission, and like we have protocols to protect ourselves, you know? But like I don't think people realize how permanent the digital footprint can be. Like, I can't unfuck the clients I fucked. You know what I mean? But it's gone. Like, it was a moment that happened 100%. And it's gone. And there's really not a lot of evidence, you know?
Totally.
Other than me talking about it on this podcast.
Totally.
So I started Petit Mort because I felt like media was kind of like the first line of defense around changing ideology, which then eventually can change policy, right? And I think like it's really fun, obviously, to sit down with a fellow creative and just like pick apart like projects and stuff in the mainstream involving sex work. But like, what is the end goal here? Because it's like, yes, like we want better stories to be told. Yes, we want more nuance. But like, does it really matter if it's not changing the material conditions of the sex workers that are at most risk, which are often women of color, indigenous women, trans women, specifically trans women of color? Like, if it is not, if all of this movement is happening and in some ways they are made more visible and therefore more vulnerable, like what is the point?
Totally. I guess that kind of contextualizes more the point I'm trying to make of like media is not real life. Right? Media is a microcosm of some people's real life in a romanticized way. And I think that having more visibility in media, making it so that certain terms are more normalized, certain stories are more normalized, like that's fantastic, but it begs the question of like normalized for who?
Right.
So again, like a girl on Instagram being able to now be like, actually, maybe I can claim that I'm a sex worker. Like, and you know, like how, and now I feel like empowered to do so, fab. It's like, not that that's not an upside in its own way, but it then removes everyone that's been there pushing that their experience has not changed. I think that personally, I feel like the experience for sex workers at large has not gotten any better. Like media maybe has more portrayals and there's like more normalization of the fact that people do this, but there's no added protections, right? Like the rise in violence for so many of the demographics of people that have to do sex work is higher. I don't necessarily feel like there has been a direct correlation of like people feel safer because the profession has been more normalized in media. And I guess that is like where the disconnect will always lie. Like until those things are correlated, what really is the point? And I think for me, like my dream has always been, and how I've always felt is like, if someone gives me their resume and it says like stripper on it, I'm like, let's push this one to the top. Period. Like, you know how to
just resourceful.
You know how to get shit done. You know how to hustle. You know how to negotiate. You have an MBA. Like, you have an MBA. You are impressive as a candidate for whatever job you are applying for. That, for me, I think, in my purview, I feel like that is where the most meaningful thing I can do is. When I'm recommending people for jobs or whatever else, like that to me, I'm like, no, that's a huge green flag.
Yeah.
And that tipping, I think, is a small way to close that gap. But as long as that gap still exists, it doesn't really matter how successful a show about sex workers is if it doesn't really trickle down to anyone's life having like less dangerous circumstances or like less prejudiced circumstances or whatever else.
Totally. Do you think that there is a way for media to like push that forward? Like, do you think that there's a way for that media can change the world? Can art change the world?
Well, I think I might go a little off topic right now, but I'm gonna bring up Obsession.
Okay.
Have you seen Obsession yet?
No, I only know about Obsessed.
Oh, this new horror movie that like everyone's freaking out about, that this 26-year-old filmmaker made, and like it's like his first really big movie, and you know they made it for like $750K and it grossed $16 million the first weekend at the box office, and it's so cool, and it's all like new actors, and you know it's horror, so that's kind of standard and whatever. But I watched an interview with the producer, and she is unbelievable, and she just spoke about in just really real matter-of-fact ways, like the importance of being nice on set, of the importance of like giving yourself patience and time for coincidence to happen, of how, you know, she like made it such a point to do all of her due diligence in pre-production and like really make sure that the crew was so perfectly vetted that like, you know, any problem wasn't a problem. Like anything that became a problem just became like we all had to like, you know, wait to see who was going to solve it first. But like I just had the right people on board, and she just spoke in such a like democratized way as a producer, and such a people forward way and whatever else. And this interview and this story of this team that's made this movie is like just getting so much media attention Because I think it is offering an objection to the subscribed belief that like working in film is a nightmare.
Yeah.
And that like everyone has to be nasty and money hungry and crazy and like no one has to is friends and whatever else. And obviously that's like a very specific trope, but it's just like something this successful and having this much mass appeal right now, having these real conversations, I think that trickles down to like, okay, then the next time that like someone is having a photo shoot, maybe they're gonna be nicer to the PA.
Yeah.
Like whatever it is, it's something so small, but when we get proof that those things work, it makes a trickle-down effect that actually matters. And I think that in terms of like the conversation about sex workers in media, it's like, you know, green light someone's project who is a sex worker, and I guarantee you
it'll do well.
It will do so well.
It'll do well.
And then that will signal to someone else. I mean, already it's like this 26-year-old director is signaling to other people like, actually, maybe young people are smart, right?
So, okay, I have so many things to say. I will keep them short. But basically, okay, I just read this article that was, they interviewed like a kid, like teenagers across America, like Gen Alpha and Gen Z, and like about how they feel about Hollywood and the films that are coming out right now.
Oh, interesting.
And they're fucking over it.
Totally.
Like they're like, we need fresh blood. Like give me something new. Like they are actually a lot smarter than we think. And I've had this suspicion, I'm like getting goosebumps as I'm about to say it, but I've had this suspicion that like we are on the verge of like the next kind of like David Fincher, Wachowski like revolution. Okay, full body chills again. I really think we're on the verge of like studios being like, you know what? Let's throw some money at these kids and see what they got. And we're going to get a next generation of like Fight Clubs and The Matrix and like Seven and like these really fucking sick movies that totally revolutionized the game in the 90s.
It's like making my nipples hard.
I'm like literally like vibrating like at the idea.
But I think that it's like the pendulum always swings. Yeah. So it has to, but like, you know, the Netflix mandate of like, the plot has to be said at least 6 times every 30 minutes so that someone can watch it while they're cooking dinner. Like, I actually think that like now we have proof audiences don't want that. Like audiences are very smart. And yeah, but
I want that while I'm cooking dinner.
Totally.
But I also want to see real art. And I don't want to see like 100 remakes and sequels.
And it's worth it to be invested in. And I think that is the thing. Like once it is proof, like it is worth it to invest in sex worker stories because sex workers are important and real people and impressive people.
I'm sorry. The point is that we have a keen insight into the human experience that no other demographic has at this level. And that is why you should listen to us. Not because we're marginalized, not because we're hot and sexy, but because we've literally seen things. Yeah. We have seen too much.
And when there's proof of that in media, then that trickles down to like the way you treat your neighbor who is a sex worker is different than maybe you would have, right? Like, I mean, I guess that's the hope of how media then actually does make meaningful impact. Yeah. But
kindness is free.
Totally.
I always say, literally, like movies are really expensive to make, but kindness is free.
100%.
When did you start to feel a sense of responsibility for what you put out into the world and into your cultural sphere? Like when did you realize like, oh, people are listening and like I do need to sort of lead by some sort of example, or like I am stepping into a leadership role in which people are looking at me, they're counting on me, or they're, you know, whatever.
That's a really good question. I think that because I am from a town where literally everything I do, for most of my friends or just people there, I'm the only person they know that does something like that.
Yeah.
I think I became very aware very quickly that I am their sole access point to any of these things. Even like in college, like me being the friend that introduced conversations just like about like masturbation to my friends from home. Like even something as small as like that as a concept. Like otherwise we're not talking about that unless I'm bringing it up in the conversation. But I think I just realized very quickly, like if I'm their sole access point, I better really think about what is coming out of my mouth. Yeah. Because it matters. And I think, I don't know, I think also like whenever, this is my own thing, but I just think if you're taking up space at all, you have a responsibility of like making that space be of value. Otherwise it's just greedy.
Yeah. Or just don't make more trash.
Yeah. So I don't know. Does that kind of answer that?
100%. Yeah, I think those questions are always hard to answer. Like, I think it's one of those things where it's like I, at some point, have had to. Oh my God, the cards are upside down. I'm reading right side up, you guys. I actually am reading off the cards. We just wrote them.
What can I ask? When did you?
I think that when we launched volume 5, and it was the first time we had a party because we started the magazine. We started working on it in 2020, and then we didn't have a launch party for the first 4 issues because it was still like lockdown. And so we finally had a party for volume 5 in 2022, I believe. And when people showed up, I was like, oh.
Yeah, they care.
I was like, oh, they care. And I think I honestly, like, I still really struggle with it because it's so, like, I'm so honored when people care and when I get really nice messages and people have had really profound experiences with the magazine or whatever, with the work. And it's so meaningful to me. I think that there's a part of me that's a little dissociated from that. I think because like the magazine is really hard and like, and it sounds so shitty, but like it is sometimes hard to get by on like words of affirmation alone when like the financial like return has been 100%. So hard fought and like barely, you know? So it's hard. And then again, it's like, I don't know what I would say if like Petit Mort was hugely financially successful, but like nobody sent me a nice email ever. Like, I don't know what validation means more. And I think that like my goal was always to create something that would outlive me. And so like, I think that I was always okay with the idea that like maybe its cultural impact will hit later. And like, but I know that this is significant, but at the same time, it's like a lot of it's not me. Like a lot of it's like me just creating a space to celebrate other people and tell the stories. And I think that like, like as a curator and like as a facilitator for this, like I do take my role seriously and maybe sometimes a little too seriously. But I feel more than ever now. And I think after like retiring from sex work, like I want to start telling my own story. Yeah. And that's so scary. And sometimes I worry that it, like by telling my own story that people will see the work differently. Like I think, and maybe that's kind of what I'm experiencing right now is like, interesting. I think I have built some sort of cultural credibility up until now. And I think that I'm scared that if I pull back the curtain, like they're just going to see that Oz is like some bitch, like just really just trying to stay alive, you know? And that like people won't agree with my personal ideas or they're going to be confronted by the way I talk about my experiences. And that like that will somehow discredit all of this work that I've done and therefore like reverse any positive or any progress that I tried to help facilitate. And that really scares me.
That's so fascinating because it would obviously only do the opposite.
Probably. You know? Probably. Yeah. And I think that at this point, like, I think that I owe it to Petit Mort's audience and I think that I owe it to myself in a way and like to tell people who I am. You know what I mean? Like I think a lot of people that know about Petit Mort don't necessarily know it's me behind it or like whatever. And like, and I think that it's important to build that relationship and just say like, hey, you might not like me, you know, and like, and that's okay. And like, you might hate the magazine after you find out about how horrible of a person I am. But like everyone just is going to get to make that decision for themselves, you know? And then,
Well, I also think that like, I don't know, I think about this a lot of like in making a point, whether it's like an essay or a song or a performance or something, like what is my metric of like if it landed? And I think I feel now way less like my job is to make a point and more like my job is for someone to walk away with maybe more questions than they had when they arrived. Or just like more considerations of a different perspective than maybe they had when they showed up. And so it's like I'm never going to claim to be like an expert. And to be honest, most of the time the work I'm making is being received by people at least within the, this conversation, it's like, I'm not like saying hot takes for sex workers to listen to. Like they know,
They are,
I'm saying things for someone who has maybe never otherwise interacted with anyone a part of that community to be like, I maybe didn't think about it that way. And like that, if that can happen, it's like success.
100%. That's literally, that's all you want. I think about that a lot. When I write editor's notes or like, I feel like I'm writing like a sermon. But I'm like, what the fuck do I know about anything, And so I think that what I try to do is I'm like, let me just ask questions.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have the answers, but I think I have some interesting questions that everyone could kind of mull over. And
100%.
And I think that's also inviting people in. Like, I don't think that, like, I'm not someone that can be taught anything. Like, I have to either, like, watch someone do something and kind of, like, figure it out, or, like, I have to fucking fall flat on my face 400 times. Yeah. It's really hard for me to just be taught something. Because, like, I'm going to call bullshit. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm going to think I'm God, and then I'm the special one that it'll be different for. Or just, like, it's just abstract to me. Like, so much feels so abstract until you actually experience it or like engage with it in some way. And so I think like asking a question is actually better than giving someone an answer. Yeah. In some ways.
I totally agree with that.
And also because like it gives people agency to like make up their own mind.
Yeah, 100%.
If conservative lawmakers actually understood the kinds of conversations happening inside the sex worker art spaces, do you think they'd be even more threatened?
Yes. And I think a lot of them do.
Yeah.
And I think it's terrifying. There is a scene in, is it True Detective? With Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey. Mm-hmm. Season 1. It's like the only good season. Of the show. Mm-hmm. And it's like such a silly scene, but it really stuck with me. Where Woody Harrelson is like in this like commune of sorts. And there's like this young girl and she's like doing sex work and the like house mom of the commune is talking to him or something. And he says something like, I don't know, he says something like damning to her of like how dare you, whatever. And she says something along the lines, I'm going to botch it perfectly, but it's like, you're not upset about it. You're just upset because you don't own it right now. Or like you don't own it anymore. And I think that is the thing where like, whether it's fucking, Christina Noam's husband, like in his fucking big fake tits or whatever else it is, it's like the like conservative lawmakers, not allowing any protections for literally any marginalized communities, period. It has been because they don't want anyone to find out their own participation.
Right.
Like that's always only been the case. Yeah. So it's like, again, until there is like a way for, I don't know, shame, stigma to alleviate itself, like that will never change. You know what I mean?
Yes. And I have actually a question that I feel like only you can answer.
Okay.
At least in this room right now. And most people I know, like coming from like a highly religious part of the country and having a keen insight into just kind of like the temperature in those places, in at least where you come from. Like, how far do you think we are from like some form of like spiritual liberation from like the religious repression and shame as a country?
I like to remain like an optimistic person, but it's bleak.
Yeah.
And I think it's so interesting. It's a horseshoe.
Do you think it's getting worse with the proliferation of sex work, or do you think it's like...
I think it gets worse because people are scared they're going to be outed as who they actually are. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
It's like every single, man in my family or whatever who's ever been like a total bigoted freak about gay people, I'm like, look at you. Take a real serious look, honey. It's very clear what's happening here. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's always been the call is coming from inside the house. Like, I've actually very, very rarely ever experienced a super, like, bigoted person in my real life. That hasn't been the case. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of like, until there is an ability for honesty, like it will only stay bad. Like
Yeah.
you can't force someone to be honest about who they are. And so I'm always like, it makes more sense to me now. I'm like, oh, like what you hate about me is not who I am. It's that I get to be honest about it.
Right. Yeah, it's honestly interesting because I think about myself, like before I was a sex worker in my early 20s, and I was so horphobic.
We talked about this.
Yeah, I was so horphobic. I was like the fucking worst, you know? And I had friends that were dabbling, and I think a part of it came from the fact that like my friends that were dabbling were really, really young and like they weren't in the safest conditions.
Sure.
And of course, like that's no reason to be prejudiced. You know what I mean? But I think it was fear. And I think it was also the sense that like I wanted to be a hoe so bad.
Yeah, that's always what, I mean, I remember like, oh my God, like growing up, I had so much weird internalized homophobia. I mean, that's like everyone, like, welcome, you know, like,
yeah, totally.
Or like even the little things of like, I remember like playing soccer and like the fucking captain of the other team with like her really like intense tight blonde ponytail. And I was like, oh, I want to like actually like rip you limb to limb. Like I was like, I like hate you. Like I literally, I was like, and I remember saying that to friends. I'm like, you know, that feeling you get when you want to like murder them. And they were like, what and are you're you like, oh, I understand
about? Gay hate
I was just literally that. Yeah, actually 100%. I was like, oh, I was just like horny and very confused.
Yeah, and violence and sex sometimes look similar.
100%. No, 100%. But yeah, I don't know. I think it is bleak, and I think that the only the optimism I feel now is about outnumbering.
Yeah.
It's not about spiritually reviving anyone.
Yeah.
I don't think that is necessarily the way to go. I think it's like an outnumbering of sorts until they all die off.
Yeah, or until they all realize like they're weird for like thinking that way and they can just like live or like die.
Totally. Yeah.
Okay. Continuing on this dark path. What's more dystopian to you right now? The surveillance state, AI generated culture, or the fact that everyone is willing to participate in both?
Oh my God. I think AI is I'm so disappointed.
Yeah.
And I think from music, like we could have learned something so important from the era of like Napster that we didn't learn. And I think with AI, the same.
What is that lesson?
When innovative technology comes to the forefront, we have a responsibility to decide how we want it to be used. Yeah. Or it will use us, right? Yeah. That is like, that's always happened. It's not new.
Yeah.
And so this idea of, there's that episode in Hacks. Did you watch Hacks?
Yes.
I love Hacks.
Yeah, we love Hacks in my house.
Where Ava Daniels is like, they're doing that pitch and the AI guy is like, it's coming for us no matter what. And she's like, you guys are the guys that are saying that though. Yeah. Like, you're the ones telling us it's coming no matter what. And I just feel like it's been such a missed opportunity to take the reins. And like, we've all just been like forced into like our cuck chairs about it.
Totally.
And it's so frustrating to now be told, well, now it's here. And it's like, well, bitch, who brought it here?
Yeah, literally.
What the heck? Literally. Like, it's so frustrating to me. But I think that specifically the lack of knowledge is what's most difficult. And I think in the past, I teach, and one of my students had said something at some point, was asked me a question, and I was like, oh, like until there's a credible source, we can't. And he was like, well, a credible source doesn't exist. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, well, there's no such thing as a credible source. Like everything's just an opinion. And they're like 18. And I was like, oh my God.
The fabric of our society.
Like, holy shit, that's and he wasn't saying it in a fresh way. He was saying it so matter-of-factly. And I think it's just such a testament to like, we struggle right now to have sources for critical thinking outside of like an Instagram infographic. And I think that
and there's so many contrasting opinions.
So much siloed opinion.
And the fake news thing. I can't imagine how these kids wouldn't be completely desensitized to whatever they read on the media when they grew up with the rhetoric of fake news.
100%.
I think a lot of what happened politically and like in the press was meant to totally fuck a generation of kids into like not really believing anything is real.
And it makes sense why they feel that way. And I think that there's an epidemic of like, we are very uneducated of what's going on. It's also really scary to be educated about what's going on. So it's like a little bit of like a catch-22, like what do you do? But I don't know, I will speak at least for music stuff. Like the way AI has infiltrated the music space is so disappointing, but it has like in no way caught up to quality. All we can do is continue to very fiercely create things that are like so human to their core. And then I think that's our job, is just to like be ruthless in that endeavor. But I think as much as I try to like be a really optimistic person, I also try to be really realistic of like, it is actually terrifying.
Yeah, I think it's terrifying. But, you know, I don't like to think that anything that's ever happened or will happen is like that brand new to us.
100%.
And so like I don't, and I always bring the AI conversation back to like when the printing press was created, people had the same response. Socrates, and I think it was Socrates himself or Plato, one of them.
One of those guys.
Listen, very important guy. When the pen was created, like the ability to like write ideas, write stories.
Sure.
Like when things changed from oral tradition into like the written word, he was like, it's over for you bitches. Your mental computing power is basically going to go down the drain. Like you're not going to, like your memory's not going to work. Like you're not going to be able to recount stories. Basically like society's fucked. Like now that people can write things down. And I'm sure there was a magic to a world in which everything was oral tradition. Right?
Sure.
And then the printing press happened, and then computers happened, and the internet happened, and now we're at AI. And it's like, yes, it's really scary, and I think that it heavily has implications that go far beyond just like putting words on paper. But I think that if you're creative and you're smart, I think that there's ways to engage with it where you can really just like let your curiosity kind of lead instead of sort of handing power over to a machine. You're like, let's see what you can do. Is there any curiosity in you to explore what AI could maybe do for you in a way that you're using it as a tool and not as a surrogate for your own brain?
Well, I think AI is very tricky because I think there are many options where it reveals itself as a tool and not as something that is like, you know, reductive of human capacity. At the same time, I think AI is dangerous because of the ripple effect implications of just like what is necessary for it to work, right? Like environmentally, who is impacted? Like I think it's just, it is very tricky for me, even though I do believe like with any new technology, like you were saying, there are ways to reroute for expansiveness, right? I don't think that I yet feel comfortable engaging with how much I do know and also how much I then also do not know about the implications. Like I just think it has not revealed itself to me yet in any way of being anything other than a shortcut, potentially at such a wild expense that for my own sake, I don't partake in any way. But I don't think that is also realistic of an ask. So I think that it's such a nuanced conversation. I think that I try to be really upfront to myself also that like I'm not the person that knows enough. Totally. You know what I mean? Totally. Like, and I think that that's tricky, but I think you're right. Like, I mean, I remember when like sex tech was a word and every single conversation I was in, people were like, robots are going to take over and no one's going to have sex anymore ever. And like the human condition is going to fall apart.
Yeah, but you can't make those robot girls thick.
And there was like also so many ways that sex tech advancements like only aided human connection, like created so many solves for more intimacy, more capacity, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean?
You're leading me into my next question.
Yeah.
Do you think technology is making us more connected or more alienated from our bodies and each other? And as a follow-up, your take on AI girlfriends, because I feel like
okay.
closing that loop.
Okay. I think my token phrase is that everything is nuanced. Mm-hmm. And I think that technology is so vast that there are pockets of technology that only keep us from one another. Mm-hmm. And there are pockets of technology that have given me more human connectivity and community and sense of belonging than I think I ever would have been able to achieve if I was just alone in my lonesome as a human being needing to navigate and meet everything IRL. Mm-hmm. So I think that my answer would more so be there is more opportunity than ever mm-hmm. to take advantage of tech. It comes down to the most human aspect, which is your intention, mm-hmm. right? I think in terms of events, organizing, compounding brand visibility, getting information shared, allowing people to have multiple brand touch points for something you care about, the ability of the tools that we have in a tech capacity is just so otherworldly. Mm-hmm. It's so exciting. Mm-hmm. And for me, the intention is for me to be in a room with a lot of people I care about and feel sweaty and connected and, porous, Mm-hmm. And so I think that there is equally a negative reaction, which brings me to AI girlfriend thing of, I don't know. I think maybe it's in some ways from the club, but I think we have such a firsthand look at this thing called the loneliness epidemic. Mm-hmm. I think I've watched in real time men specifically who really suffer feel a sense of healing from having a real conversation with someone.
In the strip club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I fear that when we remove the ability to be faced with a human interaction or a human response, it just pacifies a problem.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of how I feel about the online work,
Totally, yeah.
And even
totally.
for the girl's sake, because it's or the girl, the provider,
yeah.
or the worker. I think that sex work healed so much of my relationship to men. Mm. It created new things
sure,
to navigate. But I think it gave me so much more information. It grew my compassion and shortened my patience.
What a beautiful way to put that.
Where I'm I actually have so much more empathy and understanding of where you come from and can accept the wholeness of a man's experience, whatever.
Sure.
And yet I'm a little bit more but you got to get the fuck over it yourself. You know what I mean? And it's also not my problem.
Well, I think it made me realize how much power I've always had.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that freaks me out about AI girlfriend mm-hmm. is they're in power, actually.
The AI or the
person making it. Do you know what I mean? There is something special about the facade is that you are in control, but I'm the boss mm-hmm. of this entire interaction.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think there is something that is inherently healing for the other party about mm-hmm. that, whether you're aware of it or not, right? You maybe are getting off on this idea of control, but you don't have it mm-hmm. at all. Mm-hmm. And I think what freaks me out about AI girlfriend stuff is it's just you.
Yeah, it's just
and you are
into the void
control, actually. Yeah. And so when you are in control of dictating what happens, you lose the ability for any type of, I think, healing mechanism.
Well, right. You're not going to be challenged. And I think that
right.
is really hard. And that's something that I think men fall victim to. And I think a lot of times when you see older men with younger women, I was very much that younger woman for a lot of my life. I'm now in my 30s and can't really be the young ingenue I once was. But it's taken me a lot to realize those men, they didn't want to date women their age. They didn't want to be challenged, and I think mm-hmm. that that's so dangerous now. It's you already had women in their early 20s and now you need AI.
Yeah.
Like, come on, you know? But like, going back to that point, like, I also think that, like, for women, like, I think the way that the modern tech landscape is set up specifically with around sex work, it's also not allowing young people, young women to have the other side of that interaction and also, like, grow in their like theory of mind of the opposite sex, right? Or like of how to negotiate intimacy and boundaries and like manage like your own psychosis. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I like a lot of sex work experiences and getting, like, growing up having IRL whatever experiences, like, that forced me to, like, grow up in my mind, you know what I mean? And grow up emotionally and, like, and learn how to compromise with other people. And I think that that's something that worries me a little bit, is that, like, some of the tech and the AI is facilitating a little bit more narcissism and like a less of an ability, like more like emotional and kind of lifestyle rigidity.
Sure.
That, like, the old ways didn't really, like, have room for. Like, you just had to deal with people and you had to figure out how and you had to grow as a person and as a result.
But I think that what's so cool is it's just all a proof of, like, how much power we have, actually, because, like, those things are only bred out of fear anyways, right? Yeah. So it's like the need to circumvent is because there's power that's being feared.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, there's vulnerability that's being feared.
Of course. Yeah.
You know, and I think that that's the thing that, like, I think that men and women are so afraid of men's vulnerability. Like, how many times was I in a situation with a client where, like, maybe they're having an issue, you know, performing or whatever, like, and it's like, how do I engage with this without emasculating this person and then thus, like, making them feel weak and then them having to prove that they are strong.
Sure.
Right? Like, let me not have to make them prove that they are strong. I think that's a really scary thing. And I don't know that, like, we've fully figured out a way to account for that in society. Do you know what I mean? And I think, like, these measures, like, yeah, online work might protect women, but I think that when you're only looking at someone through a screen, it can be really, it is also more dehumanizing.
Yeah. 100%.
And therefore, like, that can also add to more violence, you know? And so I think that, like, I've been thinking about that a lot of, like, how do we get people off the machines? How do we get people in person? How do we get people to, like, really want to be in communion? Because even myself, like, I'm very reclusive. Yeah. You know, it's hard to get me out. It's hard. And I'm living in a totally new city now and I'm trying to build community. And sometimes I just don't want to leave the house. Yeah. You know? 100%. And I think a lot of people feel that way. And, like, especially kids that grew up during the pandemic. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. Well, I think also there's something to be said for, like community is not built, right? Like, it exists. We invest in it or we don't. And so I think it's more like there is a human desire always to participate. Like, we want to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. We're not meant to think that it's, like, just us alone. Like, it's, like, too much to bear. And I think that sometimes there's just less seeming opportunity to do so. But the opportunity is ripe. Yeah. Like, there is more than ever communities of people that are loud and have all these new touch points, and you can still participate without having to be potentially always there or, like, in the round, you know, like there's all these actual options available to feel held and to feel surrounded and to feel like, you know, at one with other people that understand or challenge you or whatever else it is. And I think it's like when we take away the option or the option for, like, a conduit for someone to realize they actually do want that, it's very easy then to feel like, you know, stuck. And I think that for a lot of, like, men that need an AI girlfriend, it's like you just don't have a conduit right now for the reality of, like, you're a human too. We all crave actually, like, a real connection with someone. We just do. And so I think it's about having more opportunity for conduits, which is, like, what we've always done is like you're the conduit for someone realizing they actually, like, maybe would like more connection than they thought they did.
Yeah, 100%. You know? And, you know, it's interesting because I also think that as a culture, we're something that's been long overdue is like an actual conversation around like how men should behave. Because I think that like there's been so much canceling and there's been so much like fuck these like misandry for lack of a better term without any like actual framework around progress and around like better conduct and like how to show respect. And I think that like that's something that like I think men desperately want. Totally. And I think that like it's been such a disservice in society. Like they're like if anyone has benefited and like you know evolved and progressed exponentially in the last 10 years, it's young women. The statistics are in, like, that's very true. Like, women are still behind by so many metrics, but, like, in terms of progress, it's huge. And then when we look at these other statistics of, like, the opioid epidemic and fentanyl and all these things, like, young men are, like, whew,
right.
You know? And I think that there is, like, you can't just, like, just suddenly decide, you're like, okay, fuck you. We're going to give everything that you had to the girls now, and you guys can just figure it out. And then now the girls have everything you had, and they want you to pay for dinner and make all the money and whatever. And so it's like, I think men are in a tough spot of being like put between a rock and a hard place of like, they're being held accountable at rates that they've never had before, which like, again, there's still a long ways to go. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm speaking in platitudes here. And at the same time, like opportunities are not as rampant for them. And it's a tough economy right now for anyone of any gender, of any shape, of any form. And so I think what we're left with like is a generation of men that are really lost and like are really feeling nihilistic and are really feeling really alone and are feeling so much shame because they can't live up to what they were taught to be as a kid. You know what I mean? First of all, it's wrong. And second of all, it's like they're wrong to want it. And like a lot of it doesn't exist anymore for them, you know? And I think that like there's other generational things happening with like boomers and all their money and their pensions and, you know, whatever. And like our generation's never going to buy a home or have kids, but that's besides the point. Yeah. Like, I think that we need to start like actually teaching men, like we need to like really like sit down, ring around the rosy, like what are the ABCs of like how to feel empowered without having to disempower another person, how to like be an equal to your female counterpart or be sexually fluid and not lose your sense of masculinity or your sense of purpose or virtue or value, you know?
Well, it's interesting because I feel like I get into this conversation a lot. Like when I started, one of the biggest things that happened was I actually lost a lot of my guy friends because I realized I was just doing free work and didn't feel good. And I think that my understanding of men felt way more, I had way more clarity, but I also just had way more disappointment. Yeah. And I think that, you know, I also, while being at the club, like had my whole gay renaissance. So that's like also a very confusing place to be where you're like, I think I hate you, you know? And I think it's interesting. I will get into this conversation with the few guy friends I have that are very close to me. And I hear a lot of like, you know, well, tell us what to do or what should I say or what should I do? And I think that like, it's actually way more simple of like, maybe just for the first time you should listen. And I think that it's more like you have been, you know, whether it's from your own ego or from a societal pressure told that you always need to be the one speaking. But what if you just listen? Because like, oftentimes, if women are having a conversation about something, they're usually telling you exactly how you could be better. Totally. Amongst themselves, right? Totally. Read a book. Listen to a podcast. Listen to this.
Give them hope of like, no, you can figure it out. Like
you actually really can. And there's all these ways.
So many resources.
So many ways. And I really think about like, I will have these conversations with guy friends who they're spiraling of like, what should I do? And I'm like, literally, we've been at dinner for 2 hours and you have been the only one talking. Yeah. That's step one. Yeah. Just shut the fuck up. Yeah. Actually step one.
Decenter yourself.
What if every day you shut the fuck up 50% more of your day? And I actually guarantee you, I think you'd have a lot of the answers.
So true.
You know?
So true.
That's my hot take on that.
Honestly, Yeah. Yeah. I have no notes. I guess to wrap this all up, I want to know what's happening next for you. Speaking of community, like, what's your next big event? How are you, like, obviously you just came off a big project, but like, what are you excited about right now?
I am excited about so much. I'm like jazzed.
I feel like your default state is excitement.
But no, I'm trying to have gratitude shifts of like, I make art with like the coolest people in the world who are my best friends. Like I prayed for friends like these and now I have them. It's so special. And I get to like get all these people in a room and like we really feel something together. And that's like the most special thing ever. So I have a lot of shows coming up. At this point, we have some type of crazy show activation happening like every 6 weeks at least in New York, which is really exciting. And then I think I'm most excited about is I'm putting out my first kind of like full-length project of music.
That's so exciting.
In the end of September. And I've been working on it for the past year straight. And I like couldn't be more excited about it. Amazing. So I'll be back in my little cave and manic dream girl. Just
well, you need to tell us the release date once you have it.
Yeah.
And we need to like do it
I
up.
know. Yeah, I'm really, really excited. It's like, it's so cool. It's like you always, I don't know, I think the most fun thing about making art when it's like so integrated into your life practice is like hindsight, you get all of your answers. And I was just like, I took the last year to be like, I'm really just going to focus on making stuff. And now I look back and I'm like, oh, it's like totally cohesive in messaging and theme and whatever. And I wasn't even trying to do that. It just happened. So yeah, I feel like my creative cup is spilleth over right now. And that's like the most exciting place to be. So I feel jazzed.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it so much. Well, I can't fucking wait to hear the album. And yeah, you have to keep us posted about everything.
Always. I love you.
I love you so much.
I love you so much.
I'm so excited. We need to take a little Polaroid.
Yeah.
I love you so much. Always
You're so smart.
You're so smart. It's so funny. Like I really.